The situation changed in Tibet. We could, discuss why that happened, but that's not important. It changed. And that gave the protesters, the groups who want to shine a light on China's human rights situation, the opportunity to get the conversation going again. So it turns out that the Chinese government and some of these corporate sponsors miscalculated. They didn't realize that this...
So what do they do now?
Of course, they stay in the games, and if they're smart, they find a way to say, we wish the Chinese would be better on human rights. I don't think this is going to have an impact on our economy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think businesses are just about business, and they're not about making political statements. And the only time they run...
Well, do you think there's any fear of association here?
Well, there might be, but I think that American businesses are tripping over themselves to get at 1.3 billion Chinese consumers, not just today, but for the long haul.
I think you're right.
And I think they're very concerned about insulting the Chinese and taking away faith, and they do not want to do that.
Exactly, because you have a choice of ticking off two groups of people, the Chinese or the rest of the world.
Right. 25% of the population are scattered protesters around the world. Listen, I kind of disagree with you in the sense that China didn't miscalculate. They just don't care. I mean, the leadership of China,
they don't care.
They just don't give a damn. I don't care what you say. They don't care. They don't even care about the stuff that's going on. The games are going to go on. And to that degree, I think that's where the protesters are sort of making a mistake, because I think it's a shame that the Olympic torch, which should represent something else, had to go in the witness protection program. Yeah, really.
You're absolutely right about that. I was in San Francisco, and I thought it was a shame. It's a shame for the people who get excited about this. It's a shame for the athletes. I think you might be wrong. I think the Chinese might care. They are very excited about this being a big event for them to show the world how successful they are.
I know. This would happen in the political environment that we're in right now. It's an election year, and it's a populist message.
I think it would have happened any time.
Yeah, because you know what? It's happening in South America, Asia, Europe. It's happening all over the world. But you can't get away from the fact
that China is not a free country. China is a totalitarian country.
Well, we knew that when they got the Olympics. That's my only point. I'm not justifying behavior. And you're right to say that they've been beating up on guns lately.
80 years ago, I believe it was 80 years ago, we had Jesse Owens standing on a podium.
That's right.
In Nazi Germany.
That's right.
Were we supposed to not be there?
Major points here.
Go ahead, Peter.
First, we got an Olympic-sized problem on our hands regardless, but, China might be the only thing standing between America and the economic abyss right now. We got to be very careful how we treat the Chinese, what we say in front of the Chinese. They're the biggest buyers of our bonds, of our mortgage-backed securities. We're asked...
Well, Peter, they get something out of it, too, right?
No, they don't.
We buy a lot of their stuff.
No, of course they don't pay for it. We don't pay for it. They give us their stuff.
They give us their stuff.
Figured it out yet. We're giving them little pieces of paper.
So, Peter, where did they get the money to buy our bonds if they're not getting any money from us?
No, they're recycling their earnings back into our stuff, but they're not getting any real
it's
products.
a symbiotic relationship. They have cheap labor and sell us cheap stuff.
Symbiotic, myopic. Where are we going with this?
It's not symbiotic if we don't export stuff to them.
Making a good point. There is $500 billion of U.S. debt that is held by the Chinese.
We know that, but everyone who fears, they're going to pull the financial Armageddon button.
I don't fear it.
They're as much beholden to us.
Neil, they're not.
I don't fear it, but I do say.
Well, yes, they are to infinity, and I'm the host, and that's the
Neil, they're throwing good money after bad.
Keep talking, Peter, but we're going to a break. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do, because I'm the host. All right, millions of tax refund checks are in the mail, and our money guys say, don't spend it, invest it. Stocks that'll have you laughing at the IRS next tax season. We know tax day is indeed Tuesday. Our guys are here to help you profit off of that refund check by investing in stocks and let you get more for your money. Patricia, what do you do?
Well, this may not appear to the connoisseurs on this panel, but I like Constellation Brands. Constellation Brands is the #1 wine company in the United States and in the world. And, good times or bad times, we're going to drink.
Yeah.
And so, and the best thing is that this is very cheaply priced. So I think it's a really good way to spend your refund check if you're lucky enough to get one.
If you're lucky to get one.
Let me tell you, I like those wines, though, because they have the screw-on tap. Wine consumption has been up every year for the last 14 years, so I like where you're going. They had a good earnings report, but I just think it might be a little ahead of itself right now, that's all.
So what are you doing?
I like Big Lots. A little along the same line of thinking as Patricia, in the sense that, folks are going to get their money and look for something cheap. Cheap, big box stores all around the country, great earnings trends recently. I think a lot of people are going to go and spend their money there, their refund money.
Adam, what do you make of that?
You know, it seems like every week I'm beating up on one of your stocks, Charles, and I think this is a good idea. I just think it's already had a nice comeback. It's already gotten a lot of what it's going to get. It's not a fast grower. It's not that expensive either.
All right. What are you doing?
Yeah, you think taxes, you think Intuit. Intuit is taxes, and it's TurboTax and the Quicken books that small and medium-sized businesses use to manage their accounting because they can't.
I love Quicken, but
great.
I digress. Go ahead.
And here's the thing. Guess what? People are going to have to pay their taxes next year, too. They're going to keep buying this product, and because it's a technology software company, it's beaten down like all the rest of them, so it's inexpensive right now.
Dave, what do you make of that?
I'd be a little cautious with that. And by the way, I got rid of my Quicken.
Now you just do it in your head.
You know what? The banks are doing a better job with it. They're just doing a better job with it. They're sitting on the float.
You could have helped Elliot Spitzer. He wasn't too good tracking that, but go ahead.
Okay, well, my pick is H&R Block. Now, let me start off by saying this is not a great company, all right? But there's a distinct story. All right. Sometimes you can make some money with a Bow Wow stock like this, but Richard Breeden, one of the directors, last week bought 2 million shares on top of the 2.4 million. Just 2 weeks before that, he now has 10 million. I think this stock's going higher.
Peter Schiff, what do you think of that?
No, I think he's right. It's not a good stock, and I wouldn't buy it. You know, a good part of their earnings comes from financial services. You want to stay away from that. And, you know, I think in the recession that's coming, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. They're not going to be filing tax returns, and those that still have their jobs will try to save money and do it themselves.
The ones who still want to live. Otherwise, it could be like the last stand. What are you doing, Peter?
Well, look, I've been buying the mining companies, the industrial miners for years. You know, one that's lagged, that's underperformed, have been the aluminum stocks. I think they're good value there. I like Alumina. It's an Australian company. It has an ADR here. Alcoa owns 50% of it. It's got a 4% yield. I think the stock's going a lot higher. You can buy that with your refund check.
Pat, what do you make of that?
Well, I think there's some risk associated with this stock. It's one-dimensional. Aluminum happens to be the most abundant metallic element, and it's energy intensive to produce. So I think there's some risk associated with this one.
So aluminum's an element? I'm learning a lot from you.
Yes.
It's a myopic.
Next week she'll bring in a whole periodic table.
The SAT class I missed. All right, when we come back, one stock ready to jump 60% and another one by 50%. Get those names after this. All right, back to go on the spot. Adam, what do you got?
Despite the fact, Neil, that I'm having a good week flying on American Airlines, I think by 2010 there will be 3 national airlines, down from 7 today if you count Southwest Airlines. This industry is just going to consolidate.
What life was like before deregulation.
And then you'll see the little airlines pop up again and reseed themselves, and we'll have a whole new airline industry, but not before some pain.
Wow. Dave.
Call me crazy, Neil, but Apple will be...
You're crazy.
All right. But Apple will be $250 a share by the end of next year, and it's not about the iPod, it's not about the iPhone. There's a sea change going on in computers. Either you use a Windows-based operating system or a Mac. Why would anyone want to buy anything other than a Mac where you can run Windows, Mac, and if that's not enough, both at the same time?
All right. Pat?
You know, everybody who goes grocery shopping knows that food is going through the roof. If you want to make money on this, you can be a professional farmer or you can buy Moo, M-O-O. It's an agribusiness exchange-traded fund.
Okay.
Up 50% in the next 2 years.
I still love the solar stocks, and one I like a lot is LDK Solar. It's a very volatile stock, so I'll let the folks at home know if you buy it, it's going to be volatile, not necessarily for the faint of heart, but up a minimum of 40% over the next year.
Over the next year?
Over the next year.
Interesting. Peter?
Well, you know, they're mailing out these economic stimulus checks. It's not going to work. It's going to make the economy worse. That means their Congress is going to pass an even bigger stimulus package before the election. All that means is more inflation. You got to keep buying gold, buy the pullback, buy GLD, the exchange-traded fund. We're back down to 900. We could be at 1,200 by the end of the year.
900 being the price of gold.
Right.
So 1,200, where do you see it going?
Yep.
I see.
And then much higher after that.
Much higher? How much higher?
Thousands.
Thousands?
5,000, maybe more.
Okay. All right, my thoughts on the spot, an observation really now. I think everyone's a Democrat. Now, there's anything wrong with that. But John McCain's for government, nosing in on this whole mortgage mess, just like Hillary and Barack. He's also for President Bush, boycotting the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, just like Hillary and Barack. Look, my friends, I don't care where you stand on this issue, but big government is back. Big talk is too. Pretty much no matter who is doing the talking. I think that's where we're going, Chuck.
Absolutely. Barney Frank is in control of everything, and Bush should have been on your list as well, President Bush.
Incredible. Dave Asman.